The demand for Bitcoin transactions is currently unusually high. One of the main reasons for the waiting of up to 500,000 transactions is the so-called BRC-20 token standard, which is based on the Ordinals protocol, and is supposed to enable the creation and sending of arbitrary alternative tokens, directly on the Bitcoin blockchain. We take a closer look at what this is all about and how BRC-20 tokens actually work technically. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest finance news updates. The creator of the BRC-20 specification, at Domodata, initially just wanted to experiment a bit. In doing so, he managed to trigger such a hype that about 80% of all ordinal inscriptions now contain no memory-intensive images, videos, or GIFs, but just pure text. Especially in the last few weeks, the number of such BRC-20 inscriptions has exploded, and the record for the most Bitcoin transactions within 24 hours is constantly being surpassed. The name BRC-20 is intended to be reminiscent of the similar, but much more extensive and complex, ERC-20 standard in the Ethereum network. But how is this supposed to work? After all, anyone can publish any data with inscriptions on the Bitcoin blockchain, whether it makes sense or not. In fact, BRC-20 tokens are technically much simpler than one might initially assume. Specifically, there are exactly 3 functions that can be executed with a text inscription. Creating a new BRC-20 token with the deploy function. Distributing the new tokens with the mint function. Sending tokens with the transfer function. Of course, nothing is actually executed in this context. It is really just raw, boring text that is written directly on the Bitcoin blockchain. The BRC-20 tokens functionality is based on how the text inscriptions are interpreted by users and applications. It's not the Bitcoin protocol itself that enforces the rules or recognizes these tokens, but rather the users and applications that agree to treat and understand these text inscriptions in a certain way. This interpretation enables the creation, distribution, and transfer of tokens, as long as everyone participating in the system follows the same set of rules. When we publish a regular Bitcoin transaction on the network, i.e., to spend Bitcoin, it is checked for validity by all participants. Only valid data ends up on the blockchain. In the context of BRC-20 tokens, this behaves differently. Although the inscriptions themselves are valid from the perspective of the Bitcoin network, this is actually just a formality. The Bitcoin network cannot and does not want to classify or verify the content and context of the inscription. Since using BRC-20 tokens involves only text that anyone can choose freely, there is no way to prevent invalid BRC-20 functions from ending up on the blockchain. This verification takes place completely separately and is thus purely a matter of interpretation. The rules of the BRC-20 standard are relatively self-explanatory and obvious, with some examples including: no multiple tokens can be created with the same name, only the very first one is valid. No more tokens can be distributed than the maximum limit allows. Tokens can only be sent if the sender actually owns them. If an invalid BRC-20 inscription, according to these rules, ends up on the Bitcoin blockchain, it is simply ignored. After all, there is no way to prevent it. At this point, one can almost pass the word on to the inventor of the BRC tokens themselves. They see the situation quite differentiated and caution against making financial decisions based on BRC-20 tokens. There is no real economic benefit, and many of the tokens were created either as a joke or to take money from users' pockets. Even if one just wants to play around with them, creating or distributing new tokens is currently not really sensible due to the high transaction fees. So far, Domodata's prediction, they will be worthless, has proven to be wrong. The speculation surrounding the new tokens is certainly in full swing. The market capitalization is extremely volatile and currently stands at over $800 million. The very first BRC-20 token, BRC, leads this with a price of about $25 and a market capitalization of over $200 million. How long this hype can be sustained, or if this is just the beginning, remains to be seen. However, at least the miners can benefit from the current rush in the Bitcoin network. In some cases, the transaction fees of the blocks even exceed the current reward of 6.25 BTC and could thus finance the network's security on their own. This is not only due to the BRC-20 standard itself but also its inefficiency, because an inscription always requires two transactions, one to record the content and another to make it publicly visible. One of the currently occurring BRC-20 mints is attributed to a token with a maximum amount of over 100 million, with only 420 tokens being distributed at once. So, to fully distribute this token, it would require about 500,000 transactions. Whether one likes the current development or not, it must be admitted, Bitcoin is being used, and entirely legitimately within the rules that all participants agree upon. Of course, it's annoying to have to pay more for a transaction just because others are pushing Pepe and Pizza tokens around, but on the other hand, it's pointless to get upset about it.